Welcome to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, Alex Wong. A reminder, we are streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and airing live on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday at 2 to 3 p.m. A programming note, Will Lou is still off skiing somewhere. He'll be returning tomorrow. For those tuning in for Blake Murphy Tuesdays, he will be joining Will this Thursday. But Will did want me to remind all of you that he is hosting an Instagram live Q&A with Toronto Raptors rookie Delano Banton. Tonight, I believe this is the first time Will Lou is going to be on Instagram. So you can catch that on Delano Banton's Instagram page at 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, William Lou, Delano Banton, Instagram live of the century. Check out Delano Banton's IG page at 9 tonight. I am right now sitting by myself in the studio because we're waiting for our guest, Amy Audibert, to arrive. I believe last message from her, she was 2 minutes away. She's doing our rapid testing because of our protocols. So looks like she's not going to beat Matt Devlin's record last week of showing up 9 minutes late. But, you know, you never know. We'll see. So before she arrives, we've got producer Derek behind the boards, going to chat with me for a little bit. What's going on, producer Derek?
It's a pleasure to chat with you, Alex.
Yeah, well, you were making fun of me because I was like, Derek, let's kill some time. Was that offensive for me to say, let's kill time?
Well, I just know that the small talk is usually the term for killing time. So when you actually say kill time, you know, it's kind of like I'm option Z or something like that. So
yeah, I'm feeling real lonely in here right now. Just like sitting in the studio. I need Will back. Will, please come back. Just take your show. You know what I mean, Derek?
Do you want a ball or something so you can, you know, at least sit it on Will's chair? Or we should get a cutout of Will. That's what we should do, right? So he's ever present for you.
Yeah, Will, you know, gave me a hard time in the YouTube yesterday about wearing my speed hat all the time. So for the rest of this month, I'm not going to repeat another hat. Okay? So like I take these things very personally. Derek, you text me all the time. You know, you get under my skin every day too. You rattle me. You know how I am, right? Like I just want everybody to like me.
I'm trying to bring the vibe of your parents to this show so that, you know.
You don't know me, Derek.
Not that well. No.
Actually, you know me pretty well. But I'm excited about this Will Lou Delano Banton interview tonight. Hopefully it'll be better than the time, you know, I chimed in and tried to interview Delano. Derek, play this clip. What was your favorite moment during the 2019 championship run that kind of sticks with you personally?
When they won the championship, I would say.
So when Amy joins us later today, we're going to be going through and drafting some of our favorite moments from the Raptors season so far. Derek, since you have been involved in 98% of the shows, what is your favorite Raptors show moment so far this season, besides me giving you a Secret Santa gift?
Probably the constant calling out of Faisal on his over-under stuff. You know, I like long-running jokes, so that one's up there. And then, you know, of course, all of the small talk that's had on the show.
Okay, I love that that's all you remember about all the great content that we produce.
Well, I mean, every interview is the interview of the century, so it's.
Yeah, what do you think about that marketing ploy? Are you with it or not?
I am very up for the closing sale. You know, 50% discount. I'm always up for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, we do have Sportsnet's Amy Audibert with us. Mic on, Amy. How are you? You're here. You made it.
I am. Thank you. You know, okay, so when you
don't
invited
worry.
me,
I already roasted you, but not too hard because you did not beat Matt Devlin's record of being 9 minutes late.
the worst part was I was listening to that show in Minnesota, and I was like, oh, Matt's so late. I can't believe Matt's late. Because Matt's obviously never late. Neither am I.
Yeah, so
I
we're
know.
going to make a note, you know, TV people, you know, just got to give them a 15 minutes, you know, heads up. Next time I'll tell you the show starts at 1.
I appreciate it. You know, usually I'm pretty good about that. The QEW got me. I'm not going to lie. It's totally my fault.
Listen, I think most people know. I mean, Amy, you're living in Niagara Falls.
I am.
And this is why every time I see you, I've told you it's time to move downtown, Amy. Has the traffic today changed your mind about living in Niagara Falls?
Absolutely not. Totally my fault today. Usually
No,
I'm
no,
like
no,
pretty
please.
good about
No
getting
apologies.
there on
No
time.
apologies needed. You're a friend of the program.
I feel
You know.
bad for you though because you have to deal with this all the time. When you
No,
invited
actually,
me to
you're
do
the first.
this,
You and Matt are the only ones that have ever been late. I'm just kidding.
every time you invited, we talked about this past week. It was like that friendly reminder, like give yourself the time for the testing.
Yep,
So
I even
know,
bolded it. I even bolded it in
I
the email yesterday for you.
I know.
But you
I'm
know what? You
sorry.
can't control traffic.
I
You're here now.
I should have left about 10 minutes earlier and I would have
No,
been
you're,
fine.
you're here now, and shouts to producer Derek
Yeah, thanks,
for
guys.
holding it down, aka killing time. Really appreciate it. How was your All-Star break, Amy? I think you went to Florida, right? If I saw correctly on social media.
Yeah, I spent a lot of times in airports and Tallahassee. So it was when you say Florida, there wasn't much laying around in the sun.
It was a quick work trip for you. I think you called a Florida State game.
Yes,
Is that correct?
I jumped on a college game, which I love to do. The travel, getting into Florida, getting into Tallahassee from Buffalo is not quick and easy, and there were multiple delays and connections. So a lot of time in airports. A random night in Washington D.C., which wasn't planned, but the game was good. We got home, so.
No, that's great. And I see sometimes I think you go do Syracuse games and like that too, right?
Yeah.
So you keep yourself pretty busy even when the Raptors are not playing.
I try to. I mean, I'm not kidding when I say like I want to live in gyms as long as I can. I mean it. I love being in basketball gyms, whatever role it is. I'm like, let's go. It's
Yeah.
kind of nice if you can, make somewhat of a living out of it and pay some bills doing it. But don't tell anyone. Even if I couldn't, I'd probably still be hanging out in gyms.
Yeah. No, please don't lose your leverage. I want to know though, because you've obviously been traveling with Sportsnet with the Raptors this season. Before we get into any of these topics, because we're going to bring up Goran Dragic again, because he's just such a great topic, such a great way to kill time. Will Lou, please come back. What are your 5 favorite NBA cities so far this season that you visited? You don't have to rank them. I just want to know 5, and maybe each one we can walk through and you can tell me a little bit, maybe like a sightseeing experience you had or something you visited or a memory.
Yeah, so I would say this. Had we not gotten pulled off, and I mean, I get why we did off the road for about 2 months, I probably would have had more,
Sure, yeah.
content here. I think San Francisco was really cool. I mean, it was gorgeous when we were, when the Raptors were playing Golden State. We had, I think, a day off before, 2 days off. So we ended up hanging out, and then a day after. And I got to go hike along the coastline. That was like so nice. It was November, so it was starting to get a little bit chilly at home. So, and probably went and hiked with myself and a couple of our producers, and it was really nice. So that, I mean, I know you don't want to rank them. By far, that was number 1. Okay, I don't want people to get like upset. I actually liked Utah. Like we were on a second night.
You should embrace it. If you like something, you should embrace it.
I didn't. We weren't there long enough for me to actually like go and like speak with people and stuff. I liked the mountains.
Yep.
I like to get out and walk and hike, and we had a game that night.
You're like an outdoors person then.
I am.
You like to be
I do.
with nature.
Well, in warmer places. Utah wasn't cold yet.
Yeah.
So I'll say like the actual like beauty of the place, and I didn't realize that Salt Lake City is like literally in the middle of mountains. I had really good ramen there too.
You had ramen? Was Utah Watanabe in the establishment?
He was not. Do not trigger Willu. He was not. The restaurant actually wrote "Heat me, baby, one more time" on the lid.
Okay.
So it was still hot by the time
Wow.
I got back to my room, but that was like, oh, that was so cool. I really liked
wow,
that.
ramen in Utah, honestly, that's a life experience.
Right, and it was
Yeah.
good, and like it was. Yeah, I don't eat meat, so it was. They were
Okay.
very accommodating. It's very.
So
nice.
I'm learning so much about you.
Oh my gosh!
Finally, with
Like,
25 games left in the season.
stop
Actually,
it.
this is the second time we've talked in like 2 weeks now.
Yeah,
After I ducked you, I'm like, all right, if you're gonna keep teasing me about this, then I'm just gonna keep booking you.
No,
So
listen.
appreciate you coming in today. For
No, well, thanks for having me. Sorry
yeah.
about the.
But
couple
move
minutes there.
downtown. Yeah, that is the recommendation.
I would say other place, and it's hard because when we're on back to backs, like,
You don't get a lot of
and
time
even when we
to
do,
stuff,
like,
yeah.
it's my first season, so I feel like so much more like just making sure I'm where I need to be on time.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll save the
you know what I
jokes,
mean?
yeah.
So I'll make fun of
I'm
myself.
curious too. I know Will has asked you about this, but like how much prep are you doing for each game? Like in terms of like, have you settled into a good routine now of like feeling good? If you just sit down with the notes, watch some clips, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm still trying to figure out the best way to do it. Right now, I try to gather way too much information so that it's in front of me. But I'm not like, I know I'm doing that, but for me, it's still it's a totally different thing. And then when I bumped into the analyst chair, it's a different type of prep. So I kind of like trying to get back to my old notebook and my old rhythm now and stuff. So I'm still like navigating the most efficient way for me, but my number one thing is just being there, being present. So when we're on the road and there's a practice or there's a shoot around or wherever it is, if I can be there, I want to be there. I feel like I have to be. It's my job, so I know it sounds silly. When we were in Minnesota, last week, I got to go catch up with some friends who I haven't seen for years. An awesome play-by-play voice for the Big Ten Network. And her husband does some stuff with the Vikings. So stuff like that.
Shout her out. Yeah.
Oh, Sloan Martin.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, she's incredible. And we actually we both kind of started off at the University of Buffalo Women's. She did the radio, I did the TV. So it was just like really cool. So I don't know if I don't want to like dodge you. It's not as much of the city itself. It's probably just more like the experience. Like if I have friends
reconnecting
there,
with people and things like that.
My best friend's from New Orleans, so her grandparents took me out for lunch on Valentine's Day.
I think those are the cool moments when you're on the road, right? You get a chance. Probably otherwise you might have not flown to Minnesota to do something,
not.
right?
And I mean, really, when the pandemic hit, 2 years, I have a lot of, I don't want to say more, but a good majority of my friends are actually in the States because of just from college and all that. And over the years, just my career and things. So I've been able to kind of see a couple of them where I probably wouldn't be doing if I.
I'm just jealous because like I haven't traveled much.
I know.
During this past like 2.5 years. So
yeah.
So I'm just trying to live vicariously through you. You shut out a lot of cities. Did you miss any, or was that your list?
I'm trying to think. I mean, Portland was, I like.
Oh yeah, did you go to the
breweries? I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, there's a lot of breweries in Portland.
We had a good a little tour of a couple, but then this is what really kills me. I left my fanny pack in Utah. At
the ramen place?
No, at the gym.
Oh no.
Because we were getting on a flight right after to get to, I think it was Sacramento. So I had those cool, like I like stickers. And like my favorite brewery, I brought stickers for everybody.
Yeah.
And
they're all gone.
My stickers were in the fanny pack.
Oh man.
Along with my favorite lipstick.
All right, maybe we can send out like a lost and found type thing. No, this is cool. You know, the other behind the scenes I always want to ask is, when you're doing the sideline reporting role and you're interviewing a player post game, right? I always see a Raptors PR, whether it's Phil or JQ, come over to like kind of before the buzzer, right? Like, do you get to pick who you interview, or is this like a rotation?
No, it's a conversation with Dave Leader, our producer, myself, and PR also we chat to. And there's usually a story, right? And with the Raptors, it's predominantly been three guys. Freddie, Pascal, and Gary, which is, I mean, you got to talk to them, right? When Gary has his huge games or like they've all had and you got to talk to them, which, not to bring it up, but OG is having a pretty good game.
Yeah, that's right. I'm surprised you didn't mention Texas because you said the best part about Texas are the margaritas.
But because we were on a back-to-back, I did not get to enjoy them, which was the setup for the hard-hitting question.
Right. But usually, because I imagine in your role, like you're going to have to, at that moment, prepare questions for several people, even though you're only interviewing one, right? Because sometimes maybe, depending on the flow of the game, if it's an overtime game, whatever it may be, you might not know until the very end who you want to talk to.
Absolutely. And that's what I think. So as my career's kind of evolved, I don't cut up people on air. I don't sit at home and say, oh, that person's not good or that, because I know how hard it is.
Right. Just leave that to William Liu.
Yeah. It's such a difficult job. I think reporting's incredibly difficult because people don't realize just how much on your feet you have to be. I talked about how much prep I do. Sometimes 90% of it doesn't get used, and then we have to go a completely different way.
Yeah, I think the thing people don't realize too, and you probably know this because you've done this at so many different levels, is like being a reporter and being around the game. It's just a lot of it is just waiting. You're just waiting a lot inside gyms, shoot arounds after games.
Yeah, just hanging out, seeing what and being respectful of players and coaches and everything. And but yeah, with the post game interviews, obviously I'd love to do them. It means we win. And usually guys are pretty happy about it.
You know what? I didn't even think about that because yes, they only happen when the Raptors win.
Yeah.
So if they're getting blown out in the fourth quarter, you're chilling.
Well, yeah. I mean, if someone's, had a exceptionally good game. You got some time, but then there's other games. Oklahoma City at home when Justin Champagnie had the final second tip in. And honestly, I was crushed for him that it didn't count. I was like selfishly bummed because he was he's such an awesome guy, but he just had a monster 905 game a couple days later. And then I was like, oh my gosh, he just won an NBA regular season game on a tip like this. But that decision was going to be made the game winner. Who had the game winner, right?
Right.
So again, it's like it's a conversation between probably three of us, and sometimes it's a little bit more easier, and sometimes you just gotta be ready.
Yeah, no, I just want to give people a little behind the scenes, because you make it look easy.
Oh, I appreciate that.
No, I think I want people to appreciate kind of the hard work that kind of goes into it, because most people will see the 3-4 questions that you ask and think that Amy's just chilling, coasting along, but I know
no.
there's a lot of prep. So the Raptors are not playing until Friday.
Yes.
So we have lots of content to fill for this week. So I'm talking extra slower this week. I'm employing all these tactics. All right. So we're going to draft our favorite moments in the second segment. But first, I want to ask you a few things. Actually, I guess this is kind of Raptors related. So Goran Dragic has signed with the Brooklyn Nets. How do you think he will fit in, or what level of contribution do you think he will make to the Brooklyn Nets for the rest of the season?
Well, first of all, credit to the team over there for getting him locked in, because first and foremost, he has an incredible relationship with Steve Nash. That was something that when Goran started the season with the Raptors, he talked a little bit about on especially those media days. He was his teammate. Steve Nash was his vet when he was the rookie. And so it sounds like they've got a great respect for each other. So it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I think the thing with Goran and why the amazing Raptors fan base, by the way, was rightfully so frustrated with the things that, and they're awesome. They're passionate. They know what they're talking about. They call you on it.
You don't need to be nice to them.
No, it's true. Honestly, they're awesome. And I understand why they were frustrated because Goran he's just a great, get in there, facilitate, run a ball screen, get one good hit, make a smart decision, set somebody else up. And so when you look at the weapons that Goran's going to be playing with, obviously KD and maybe Kyrie half the time. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but obviously Ben Simmons, Patty Mills. I just think
it's a whole new team for this remainder of the season.
It's a whole new team, but he's a guy that can just just a really calming presence, right? Just go in, facilitate, play a couple minutes here and there, probably, maybe, just sustain some stuff. He's a veteran. He's smart. He's calm. He's got a great IQ. So when you talk about Brooklyn turning things, it's funny because as poorly as their record's been as of late, they're still in conversation, right, to get out of the East, which is just, it's crazy. So I don't want to pump them up too much. They're the Brooklyn Nets. They're the Eastern in conference rivalries, but this was a good decision for them. I know we got to move on, but especially during those times when the rotation was a little shorter up here. Everybody and to me, and I keep saying this, and I've been saying this for a long time, as brilliant as Fred is with the ball in his hands, I love him off ball. I love when they can set those weak side, double staggered, get him open, find him shot and rhythm. And I thought Gordon was going to allow Fred to do that. It's not how it played out.
Amy, you thought wrong. Yeah.
I did. I was terribly wrong.
I thought Goran was going to be a contributor here too, in terms of just being a piece coming off the bench and, like you mentioned, playing alongside Fred. And I had actually decent expectations because I remember him in the bubble, which was not far ago, playing such a huge role when the Heat made their run to the finals.
Yeah, and then he got injured.
Yeah, it was such a huge loss for them, right? In the finals. And I believe he was able to make it back to play one of the last games, but he was such a big contributor. I wasn't expecting him to come in here and light the city on fire or anything like that. But I did think that there was going to be, a good period here for him, and then they would just part ways because that's just how it works.
You were wrong too.
I know.
Well, you know what though? But when you realistically talk about winning a championship and not building towards the future, talk about it now. You need guys that come in and don't blow up a stat sheet, but just do a really good job.
Yeah.
Right? Those are role players that you absolutely need. And you look at him and his position in the career that he's had, he's in that position to do that, right? Just come in and play good basketball and facilitate and give their guards a little bit of a break here and there, and not be like, nervous of going to your bench. So credit to them. It'll be interesting next week because it's a back-to-back with Brooklyn.
This is what I was going to get to.
There's going to be some fans in there, isn't there?
This is what I was going to get to. So the Raptors are playing a back-to-back against the Nets, including on the second half of the back-to-back. They're going to be home on March 1st, and this is the first time fans are going to be returning to the arena. And I kept thinking about this yesterday because I talked about this a little yesterday with Faisal. It's going to be pretty electric in there, I think, because number one, the return, number two, Goran, and number three, those two games are huge for playoff implications. Because I'm looking at the standings right now. We know that the Raptors are in 7th and the Nets are in 8th. And, you know, of the play-in teams, like you mentioned, like the Nets are somehow a play-in team, but you could still talk yourself into them making the finals because of the top-tier talent that they have. Right now, the Raptors are 3 ahead in the loss column. They have 25 losses. Brooklyn has 28. If they sweep that back-to-back, like they could really bury Brooklyn and make sure that they don't make it to the top 6.
I think there's 25-ish games left. Like, I do think Brooklyn will finish in the top 6. It depends, of course, to see, I think, how Ben Simmons
really does
looks and
depend.
everything. But,
at some point, you do run out of time.
And to your point, Toronto and Boston are trading the 6-7 every game right now. So, I mean, we don't even have to bring Brooklyn into the conversation. You just need to basically win every game. As many as you can't win every game, but you know what I mean? Like, for sure. I mean, those standings are changing every single night. I always check and I'm like, I mean, I don't even know if I'm looking. Like, you should look every week because Boston, again, is also on fire. And the fans are going to, I mean, the Raptors are playing so good right now. We don't talk about the New Orleans game. I mean, that place is going to be jumping. I'm so excited.
It's really going to be a second home opener, in my opinion. Like I do think it's going to be, and hopefully we'll have a better result than what happened in the home opener against the Washington Wizards, you know?
Yeah. Well, let's hope you're right about that. And me too.
Yeah. I wanted to get your early impressions on Thaddeus Young, too. You know, I know he's only played a couple of games, but he played a pretty big role in the win over Minnesota. Has he kind of just shown up and kind of met your expectations so far, given the small sample size you've been able to see?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Bobby Webster said it best. I think it was the day before the deadline. He had his availability, right, where he said they weren't looking to come in and change a lot of what was going on and respecting those top 5 guys and what they're showing, but just someone to come in and kind of like sustain, to get in there a couple minutes here and there. And I mean,
like you were describing with Goran, really.
Yeah, different position. But I think those guys are so important in this league. They are. They are. There's 82 games.
And let's be honest, the bar's pretty low right now for what fans want bench players on the Raptors to kind of contribute. Like it's literally come in and don't give up like a 10-0 run. You know, come in and just play solid basketball. And Thad, obviously, he's been in the league for a long time, and you can set the bar a bit higher than that for Thaddeus Young. Like I think he does have a good role to play in the offense, and he can lift these second units. So, I mean, me personally, I'm pretty excited about what I've seen so far.
Oh, absolutely. I think, and just like the respect, the things that we don't measure on a box score, but mean so much. He's a communicator. He knows this league so well. And so when you look at that second unit, and they're pretty Precious and Delano, even Chris, like he's not young, but just in terms of like the league and experience and stuff, he definitely fills that role on that second unit. And he was not in the rotation at San Antonio. And I said it before, it has to mean something when you get that opportunity to actually come in and be part of a rotation again, right? And we're getting that fresh right here, right now. And I imagine he probably hasn't had an all-star break. He's probably been working really hard. That might mean watching a lot of film, having a lot of conversations. But from those couple, I think it was 2 or 3 games that we saw from him before the break. And then even immediately this week coming up, just consistency. And I think that's something that we can all like realistically expect from him.
Yeah, because you look at basketball from a very smart perspective. I know you're going to hit me back when I ask you this question and be like, oh, it depends on the matchup. But Amy, if the playoffs were to start today, what's your 8-man rotation for this team? We know the starters, so I'm basically just asking you, who do you think are the 3 guys that are coming off the bench and getting minutes?
Well, that's a tough question because then I'm going to tell you why. Because, I mean, obviously Chris has to be in there. Absolutely. I think Precious is awesome. Okay.
But then you also have Kem.
Then you have, Kem. So I will say this about Kem.
Yeah.
I think he is vital to this team. Okay. If you watched him defend Carl Anthony Towns against Minnesota. I mean, he didn't like have the easiest game, Cat.
Yep.
And that was because Kem, as a big defender, yes, the Toronto Raptors don't have that traditional center. He's about as close as it gets. And so when you do see those bigger body guys, even if, one night he only plays a couple minutes.
He did a pretty good job on Jokic too.
Yeah.
Better than the other bigs.
Yeah. One of my favorite matchups was the OG on Jokic because of last season. It was so awesome.
Right.
I think he gave him like a bloody nose at halftime or something.
But you're saying that Kem clearly has a role to play on this team.
On offense, I think his ball screens and him and Fred really started to develop that chemistry. I mean,
Amy Audibert ball screen reference. This is always a must.
Chemistry with Kem. So yeah, I mean, your question, come on now, but the other thing too is I think a guy like Delano can change the pace.
Yeah,
if you're like, hey, we need, they look a little tired. Delano, go get in there and just run.
Even Justin Champagny, I feel like, has earned the trust of Nick.
And I'm sorry, but a guy like Utah, go give us some energy. If you hit a shot and the roof blows off at Scotiabank, like you're popping, And so again, I understand like the whole thing with rotations. When you look at the championship team, they had that bench mob. They had those guys to go in there. So it's really hard. It's funny because at the beginning of the season, the conversation was there was no bigs, and now it's like you've got
they only have bigs.
Now it's all like these like 6'8", 6'9" bigs coming off the bench, and who's going to play in the backcourt? But so I mean, really, like I'm sorry, I don't think I can actually say top 8 players.
I knew you were going to give me that answer, but I had to ask anyway.
But I'm not even like I wish I had a more solid.
No, trust me, I get it. I think the point I'm trying to make too is just that. At some point, it's cool to mix and match, find these guys, see who's working on a night-to-night basis in the regular season. But when it gets to the playoffs,
you have to.
You got to know, depending on the matchup, who you're going against, like who are the 8 guys that you're going with.
I would really, really like to see Delano, especially, I think, just get back into, remember those first, and I know like earlier in the season, but just getting up and down. When he gets in, if he can change the pace of the game, I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, well, the good thing is we've got another 7 weeks to talk about this before the playoffs start. So
I'm sure there'll be some other things that pop up in the next 7 weeks.
We'll have you back on many times if you then and ask you this question every time you come on.
Okay. It's going to be the same. I'm just kidding.
All right, I think that's a good spot for us to take a break. I'm your host, Alex Wong. You're listening to the Raptors Show, powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on Sportsnet 590, the fan powered by DoorDash. I'm your host, Alex Wong. I continue to be joined in the second segment by Sportsnet's Amy Audibert, who only showed up 2 minutes late. So we've got 58 minutes to chat. So if we run out of time at the end, we know whose fault it is.
My dad is probably at home shaking his head right now. He is a time guy.
You did tell me during the break, like punctuality, that's like important to you. That's
it is. Like
I'm
I'm still cringing at myself, honestly.
Yeah.
Like the whole, I feel so
It's all
bad.
good, Amy. It's all good. You know, as I tell,
You're so
Faisal all the
nice.
time, all you got to do is just buy me a bubble tea or something and we're
Oh.
cool. Just get people to buy me stuff. This is what I do.
Gosh. Okay.
Amy, in the interest of, the Raptors not playing until Friday, we're continuing to find different ways to talk about the Raptors as they don't play. As Will Lou runs, continues to run from the grind. He just sent me a video, actually. He's on a skiing trip. He's listening to Fan 590 right now.
I hope someone hired a camera person. Like Open Gym, please go follow Will Lou on a ski trip.
I told
I'll fund it.
I told Dan Tolman here at Sportsnet last week, I'm like, if you want a day in the life of Will Lou, send a Sportsnet producer on this trip. Would you watch a 15-minute
would I watch
YouTube video?
Like I would.
Yeah.
A live stream would be amazing. Skiing's hard. I was a one and done.
Oh, okay.
Like so. Good
Yeah.
luck. I hope there's content.
I
Let's
figure
just say that.
skated growing up. Did I ever tell you that?
So did I.
Oh, wow. Okay. We need to connect on that.
Figure skating and synchronized swimming were
Wow.
my two,
Okay.
and I dabbled into gymnastics before I grew up. Like
Wow.
you know.
Okay. Wow.
Anyways.
We'll continue to learn more about Amy. By the way, if people want to learn more about Amy's backstory, go on the Raptors Show podcast feed. Look up the Amy Audibert Q&A that I did with Amy a couple weeks ago. Hope you had a good time. That
A
was
great
fun.
time. You went all the way in and got some old stuff.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
all. That was the producer, JR.
Yeah, you
I
did.
just showed up and pulled up a Google Doc.
Wow.
I never like to take credit for other people's work. So Amy, we're gonna draft some of our favorite moments from this Raptors season so far, and I've split them up into 4 different categories. So because you're the guest in each category, I'm gonna let you make the first pick,
Oh.
and then we're gonna talk about it. I'm gonna make my pick, and then we might have some honorable mentions
Okay.
as I watch the clock. So we're gonna
Okay.
do this in 20 minutes.
Okay.
So let's start with the first category, favorite game this season, favorite regular season game this season. Amy, you're up.
I think this is an easy one. It's got to be Fred's All-Star selection game.
Oh,
Sports-
I'm surprised you made that pick, but okay, go on.
I think you're joking, right?
no,
You're
no,
not.
no,
What
no.
did- okay.
Okay, but go
okay.
on, go on.
For me, so first of all, it was a Sportsnet broadcast, so it was awesome.
Okay.
Got to cover that. But I think it was just, I always say this, I don't know if Fred realizes how he's impacted so many people, including myself, like this whole bet on yourself. And I mean, I'm not saying, he's defined my whole existence or anything.
No, but you can relate to it.
Yeah, this guy, and I'm not, and I think it's easy for us to be like, oh, he works so hard. Oh, he's undrafted, now he's an all-star. Yay, rah, rah. But at the end of the day, the guy, I can't imagine it's been easy. He's grinded his tail off every single day, and it's his story and it's his right to talk about it. But I would say just for people that have had to really grind it out, seeing someone, and I mean literally standing right there, that had nothing to do with a ball in a hoop, but it was so far my most impactful moment of the season, and I was so blessed to be able to be there. I'd say that.
Yeah, for people that don't know,
he smiled. He was smiling.
Amy was, backstage at Scotiabank Arena, standing next to Fred as he waited impatiently for all the All-Star selections to be announced.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I would say. That was my favorite moment of the season. I mean, he deserves it. We all know he deserved it, but we know sometimes voting happens, Pascal, but things happen and people don't get in where they should. And so for him just to have that moment.
So that's because this is for the favorite regular season game.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
definitely have
that is your
honorable
moment.
mentions. Yeah,
But that is your
That's
moment.
the game so far.
I would go, you know what? This is really tough for me because there were a lot of satisfying wins for me. I'm going to have to go with a triple overtime win in Miami.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with
Yeah.
that one because for me, there was so much talk going into that game because Nick Nurse had been running basically a 6-man rotation for a couple weeks. And they weren't getting results, right? They had played in Miami, I think, just the week before and lost.
Yeah.
They were in Dallas, played a close game and didn't win at the end. This one, forget about results versus process, all of that stuff. They needed a result. They needed to win that game. And for them and for the starters to all play, I don't remember, like 53 minutes, 55 minutes, 58 minutes.
Yeah, 5 guys over 50
Yeah,
minutes. It was an NBA.
Yeah, it was
record
ridiculous. For them
history.
to get that win, and then it propelled them onto that win streak.
Yeah, and it
That
was like
started the win streak.
and what's crazy about it is like what was required for them to win that game, the physicality,
Yeah.
every single possession just felt, everyone says it was almost like a playoff vibe. And I mean, for them to have to do that for 3 overtimes, like you said, with all the minutes, and for them to walk out of there, for sure. I do. I mean, I gave you the like bigger moment, but in terms of hoops, that was an awesome game. I got some honorable mentions. Though.
Okay,
I know,
let's go.
I know we
Let's
got
go.
20 minutes.
Let's do something. No. We're not in a rush. We're not in a rush.
Okay.
Honorable mentions.
OG dropping 36 at MSG. I
I
gotta tell you
I forgot
something.
about- I forgot about that one
That
already.
was the Bing Bong like era. I,
forgot
mean, it's
about that
already
one.
over, which is so funny. There we go. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I mean, that was a thing, right? And then and I was there, and he rolled in and he just like dominated that game. He 36. I mean, come on, that was awesome. And then I got to throw one more Scotties at the Garden.
Yeah, I had that one too.
Because, you know why? That was my first NBA game. And I was in the first half, like those, Boston fans are very passionate and they got those really thick accents. And they were
And
like,
this was their home opener.
yeah. And I mean, Paul Pierce was there. Like it was a scene. And I think Paul Pierce, he was at one of the games. We played there twice. Maybe it wasn't that one. But the whole place was in the first half, like yelling at the team, "Oh, Kyle left y'all." Like, like the funniest things. When I tell you, it was quiet in the second half, and Scotty, what was his numbers? I got it, so 25 and 13.
Yeah.
And it was like he arrived, and just the vibe from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, the place, I mean, people were still there. They just weren't talking.
Yeah, 115 to 83. It
Yeah.
was a blowout win. And it does remind me too, because that was Toronto's first road game. Like they had just lost the home opener, went to Boston. Scotty, obviously his first NBA road game. I think very early on in the season, I think of that game. I think of the free throws that he hit in Indiana
Yeah.
to ice the game.
Yep.
Like those early moments really, I think, ramped up the expectations for what we had for Scotty,
Yeah.
especially for just his first season.
Yep, you're right. I mean, there was no like welcome kind of like couple weeks of adjustment. I mean, and when you think about it, I mean, the thing that's incredible about it is the skill sets. Like you said, you don't drop 25 and 13 like if without your skill. You don't hit 2 free throws unless you're poised for that moment to win a game. But then also just the energy. Like he came in and was just going rim to rim every possession. And I think that was getting a lot of teams on their heels a bit because they were like, oh, whoa. Like, don't you take a break?
Yeah.
Don't you, and he doesn't cruise and he wasn't cruising. And I think that was really,
Yeah,
that was awesome.
I think of like the breakaway dunk he had against the Brooklyn Nets when he looked back at KD,
oh my gosh.
or the game before when he ripped the ball from Jared Allen
Yeah,
at the
those
end of
are-
the game.
Those are some big plays, big
Yeah.
moments. And the last one, sorry, I gotta get this one.
Please,
the
please.
Philadelphia game at home,
Yes.
late December, because that was one of the games I was calling. 2 things from that game: the way Pascal came out and just set this tone, took over this ball game. Fred was still not playing. A couple guys were still in protocols, and it was just like this. Like consistency, like Pascal's been consistent now. But to me, that was the first game where you're like, there was just this when the ball's, and you know how there's certain players that when the ball's in their hand, like you feel like confident. And that was against Philly. Like they go, and that was against Joel Embiid. And I mean, he just took complete command of that game. They ended up losing the game, but it was such a close game the entire time. And I thought that was like for me the first time this season. I don't think Pascal was bad when he started. I thought he's been pretty solid, but that was from late December till now. He's been just like had his foot on the gas in terms of consistency and production. And it was just like this other kind of level of Pascal that I've seen where it was like, all right, he's got the ball. He's on the court. Something, we can get something going here. And Chris Boucher in that game as well with like the 28 and 19. Come on.
That's right.
That's another guy whose story is just like incredible. And
Raptors Show favorite, Chris Boucher. The Will Lou Chris Boucher interview is happening.
It is.
Coming soon.
And honestly, like, I've been on Team Chris for a very
Yes,
long
you have.
time. I've covered him in the 905. And so, like, maybe there's just a different, like, appreciation
No,
for
sure.
what he does.
No, Chris's
but-
story is great. And,
Yeah.
I think people don't talk about Chris's story sometimes because, there are so many great stories on this team. And you hear about Fred's story probably the most,
Yeah.
but there's so many other great stories.
I mean, Chris, he like dropped out of school and went and worked as a dishwasher.
Yeah.
this wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
And so to see him kind of overcome a lot of, he was not in a great place. And I think a lot of outside voices didn't help him.
My boy William, listen.
Yes, I cannot wait. I'm gonna like microwave some good popcorn, not the cheap stuff that night.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know you had different popcorn, shelves. The other one, I'm going to shout out Justin Champagne's almost buzzer beater against OKC. They did a celebration at midcourt, even though it didn't count. So,
well, they thought it counted.
I know, but that's always going to be a good memory for me, even though it didn't count.
It's not, because it's like it didn't count. It was almost devastating. If it counted, it would have been the greatest. But the fact that it didn't was like, I just am like, that's devastating. I didn't want to say anything to him because it's like the highest to the lowest in a matter of 90 seconds.
Yeah, close enough for me. And the last one for me was the comeback win in Milwaukee when Pascal had a triple-double. They were trailing by double digits in the first quarter. Giannis finally played.
Did they take back the rebounds, though? So it actually...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. Again, high to low, man.
Oh, man. They got to give that... Just give Pascal.
It was like a week later, too. It was the home table.
My favorite thing about that game was the Raptors lost in Detroit the night before.
No.
And that was, until the New Orleans loss, for me, like the worst loss of the season. And for them to bounce back and beat Milwaukee and sweep them in the season series, that was very satisfying.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think I was calling that one, too. We were at home remotely.
Yeah.
And
you have done awesome. Every combination of calling games, like, remote.
Sometimes I forget. I was like,
visit, all of that. Okay. Want to know next category, favorite Fred VanVleet moment? I know you already mentioned one. Do you have another one in this category of favorite Fred moment?
I feel like you're tossing me the easy ones. It's got to be the Sam Cassell dance. Yes. Like, I mean, that's all over. Still on highlights. Never going to get old. And 10 years from now, it's still going to be played
we
somewhere.
like to treat our guests properly. That's why you get the first pick for all of this.
That's really nice. I feel bad because to me, like, that was, aside from the All-Star, that was the moment of the season so far.
I got another one, though. Okay. I'm going to pick Fred's third quarter against the Utah Jazz when he had 24 points and was 8 of 8 from the field. He finished that game with a triple-double. Hopefully this one wasn't rescinded. 37 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. He went on a personal 15-0 run.
Yeah.
And then you remember that. You remember that third quarter, and I think this was right in the middle of him making that all-star push. And I feel like that game really cemented it for him.
Yeah, I think the thing with Fred is, like, he has this ability to just, like, take over a ball game. Not everyone can do that, especially in the NBA. Like,
and
it's hard to score in the NBA.
It amazes me that he does it at his height.
Yeah, well,
it's pretty remarkable.
I think he's gotten so much respect because of how much bumping he can take and still stay on his feet, right? Like, he can get under guys, he can draw contact, he can still finish. He, like, even when he's getting bumps. So now, like, I think it's scary if you close out on him long at times because he can blow past you, get under you. So I actually think that that's why sometimes he gets some of the looks he does, right? Because it's like he's tough to guard, even at his height, because of his height, because of his strength. It certainly works in his favor. Not necessarily a moment, but I would say the way this season started, Fred was deferring a lot. I thought he was.
Okay.
When you look at those first couple weeks, right? He was trying to get some of the newer pieces, like, really accustomed and involved and touches Scotty. Gary to me was still a newer piece this season because of just the way things went down at the end of last season. Precious. And then at one point, and I think it was I think the Raptors were at Washington. That was, like, his first, like, monster game of the season. And it was required. I think it was, do you know what I'm talking about? Was that Washington or was it at Philly? But I think it was at Washington.
I think the Washington one probably pushed them to 6-3 early in the season.
And I think he just kind of, you got the sense after that he was like, it was time. Like, we needed to win a couple more games, get back on a good track. And I think that was just in the grand scheme of things, not a Fred moment, but just the way that he's approached the season
for sure
up to this point has been pretty brilliant. He really, at the beginning, was real. And I mean, it's not that he's not trying to get other guys involved now, but now they're playing a smaller rotation at this point in the season. If you're not on the bus, you're off the bus, right? So in terms of just, like, grasping concepts and all that stuff. And so much respect for the way that he's been able to adjust to a lot of new faces this year.
Yeah, and only 9 minutes in the All-Star game. So Well rested. Well rested.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Very well rested. So next category, Amy, your pick once again. Your favorite off the court moment this season. Lots to pick from in this category as well.
Yeah, this is a great group. The first thing that sticks out into my mind, as I'm sure it does many people, Gary's outfits, his looks, his drip,
Right.
his swag. And there are many to choose from, but at Milwaukee.
Oh, the cardigan. You have to.
Oh my, like it's freezing
reversible
out, like deep
Gucci
V,
cardigan.
deep V. Showed all those tats. I was
Yeah,
like,
wearing nothing
man,
underneath.
he's awesome. I
Flipped
think
it reverse in the second
yeah.
half.
I think
Yeah.
I know OG kind of tried to even it up there with Serge and like the looks and everything.
No,
but,
Gary is in pole position right now. No one's catching him.
He's arrived, and it's like you've arrived when people are excited to see what you're going to show up in. It's like the first part of the night is, ooh, what's Gary coming to wear?
No, I was talking to Faisal yesterday. I'll ask you the same thing. I was giving him an over-under of total retail price of Gary's outfit for game 1 of the playoffs, and I said 6,500.
Yeah. I mean, it depends if he's putting the Prada basketball on
The
his
Prada
waist or
basketball is
not.
$965.
I know. So if he decides to
the cardigan's
put the
3,500.
accessory on,
I think it's an easy over, but
yeah,
we'll
I
see.
agree.
So my pick, you know what? I'm gonna go with Matt Devlin losing his voice
that's
in
scary.
Indiana. Not really, no. But I don't mean to. No, I'm not picking on him. I thought that was such a memorable performance by Matt. To be honest, like
he was
for him,
pushing.
for him to gut that out, like
Yeah.
I would have. You were there. I think this was another.
Yeah,
Sportsnet
and we were
broadcast.
having some mic issues because I wanted to contribute a bit more,
Right.
and try to like help out a little, like maybe try to alleviate some from Matt.
Yeah.
But there were some tech issues, so I was just sitting there like, I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know
for
what to
Matt
do.
for Matt to get that out all
Yeah.
4 quarters, and you remember that game came down the stretch.
That was Scotty's free throws.
That was Scotty's free throws.
Yeah.
It could have gone to overtime.
Yep.
And I think we did have Matt on the show, and we asked what we would have done if they went to overtime, and I don't know what would have happened.
The thing about live television, and I mean, when you get people that have mastered it, as Matt Devlin has, is you literally have to just go like one possession at a time. You never know what's really going to happen. Something that I continue to embrace is that like you can only plan so much. There's like preparation, but then there's planning, right?
Yes.
Like you can feel
No, that's a great
prepared,
point.
but then you can't plan. And yeah, I mean, I remember the first couple minutes of that game, we were like, why doesn't he just hit the cough button and like just kind of clear his throat? But it wasn't, right?
No, it was worse
So-
than it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So shouts to Matt Devlin. I feel like he should get some sort
Oh.
of award for pulling
the
that
best
game out.
live sporting event. Take the women's broadcast off the nomination. Like, come
Okay,
on.
that's not what I meant. Come on. Couple of honorable mentions.
Oh, yeah.
Gary just glitching and freezing during a post-game Zoom, even though he was just sitting there silent. OG attempting to draw the OVO owl at the beginning of the
Still
season.
want to get that on a shirt somewhere.
Yeah, so
Still
people
wanna
should check
get
that out. So we got a couple more minutes here. Last
Wait,
category.
One
What's
more.
up?
Devin Booker. Come on.
Yes. Devin Booker, the Raptor. Shouts to the Raptor, friend of the program. Distracting.
That's
Devin Booker.
hilarious. I was just revisiting this with my friend's grandparents at lunch last week, and I couldn't even like get it out properly because I was like, "This happened." Sorry, but I mean, come on! I cannot wait till Phoenix is in Scotiabank next year.
No, I just need, but I do need other teams to stop using that as content. I've seen other mascots trying to distract Devin. I'm very protective of this.
Yeah.
Let the joke go. It was
There's
fun.
one guy that can distract.
Yeah,
Devin.
it was fun the
Marketing.
first
I hope
time.
they tap into their budget.
It's fun the
next year.
first time.
Give
Oh wow,
everyone
we only have a few
foam
minutes left. Okay, last category. I want to know the favorite long-term development that you've seen from the Raptors. And when I gave you the list, it was basically the starters. It was
Yeah.
Fred becoming an all-star level player, Pascal returning to all-NBA form, Scotty flashing star potential as a rookie, OG's continue to improve as a two-way player, and Gary's rise as a two-way player this year. When you look at all 5 of those, what are you drafting as your favorite long-term development?
I mean, if I want to say long term because I want the longest, it's going to be Scotty. He's the youngest, and I want to, I think that this is a guy that you definitely build around because he can do a little bit of everything, and he's going to continue to develop. Right? He can handle, he can pass. He's still shooting. He's shooting pretty. I think his outside shot he's above the mark where people thought. Right? That was the one thing, but he can hit, and he's been trying to continue to develop that. He can do everything. So I think his long-term outlook is maybe the most exciting. The other guy we throw there you didn't mention was Precious. I'm sorry. I'm still on Team Precious. I think that he's in the best development system. I think when he gets in there and just like simplifies his game, He's really good. And I think the way that Toronto wants to play, this is a guy who like fits that mold perfectly.
Okay, yeah, and I'm going to go with Pascal.
Yeah.
You know, playing at this All NBA level because there's so many questions, and I feel like we forget now because every time a lot of these conversations are very reactionary, right? Like Pascal, had the injury last year, wasn't the best season, and people were talking about should the Raptors trade him? Would Pascal and Scotty fit? And I mean, I had those concerns. I had those questions. We talked about it, and like once again, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy to see Pascal back at this level because paired with all these other things that we've talked about and Scotty and the potential that he's flashed, I think the future is so bright for this Raptors team. And the future is bright now. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement these last 7 weeks of the regular season and to see where they go in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean the compete level, and that's through your leaders. And it's when you talk about your leaders in a compete level, Fred's obviously the guy that you bring up first, but I think Pascal's been tremendous alongside him this year. I mean, he's been leading by example. Even Nick Nurse talked about him getting in. He said he shows up to the gym in the morning and Fred and Pascal are in there shooting when he's like, I kind of wish they were in bed getting rest. But I mean, it's not just Fred, right? And it is Pascal too. And I mean, if you don't have your health, you have nothing, especially as an athlete, but as a person. And this is a guy who mentally and physically is in a really good place health-wise.
Yeah, that's that Raptors culture. Listen, Amy Audibert, really appreciate you joining us on the program today.
59 minutes or 58 minutes.
58 minutes, we did it.
My pleasure.
We did it. That does it for us for today. Will, please come back tomorrow. I'm your host, Alex Wong. You've been listening to The Raptors Show powered by DoorDash on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review our show. A reminder, we are streaming live on Sportsnet's YouTube channel and on Sportsnet 360 Monday to Friday at 2 to 3 p.m. Thanks again to our guest co-host, Amy Audibert, board producer, Derek Brandeo, and Jennifer Rolnick for helping us behind the scenes with the YouTube stream. I'll talk to you soon.